Hello, this is a video on my review of my work experience. Okay, so I did my work experience at Croxteth Home Farm and Gilmore Veterinary Surgery. I chose these placements because I wished to become a veterinary nurse, and I thought that the Croxteth Home Farm for my first year would give me a good view of various handling different animals and taking care of different animals. And then for my second year I chose Gilmore Veterinary Surgery because I thought it would help me to give me more experience into working in a veterinary practice. This is my first year original aims, targets and objectives, and this is the original aims, targets and objectives for my second year placement. For my first year, my original targets had been to learn how to handle different animals, about the various husbandry needs of various animals, how to handle snakes, because I didn't like snakes, and about the preventative care of various animals. I feel I have achieved all of my first year aims. For my second year, my original targets were to learn about infection control, patient care and general day-to-day tasks in a veterinary practice, and how to act in different situations with different owners. I'm sorry. I feel that I have achieved 4 out of 3 of these aims. In my first year, I feel that I have achieved all of my original targets because I have learnt how to handle various animals and feel I could handle and restrain any of the animals properly and competently. I can now carry out any of the tasks to do with husbandry, welfare of any of the animals, and would know what to do if told to do such and such a thing with certain animals. I did not like snakes when I first started at the Croxteth Home Farm, which is why I wanted to get better at handling them. I feel that I have achieved this target. Although I am still squeamish when handling them, I would still be able to handle it safely and properly if I was ever told or had to handle one. And finally, I have achieved my final objective, which was to learn about the preventative care for various animals. I now know that there are different types of worms, and it is not all protected by one form of preventative measure, and that there are things that need to be protected against, such as mites. For my second year placement, I feel that I have learned a lot about infection control, patient care and general day-to-day tasks. I feel this because I have asked lots of questions and was able to practice and carry out different tasks, often on my own and with supervision. There were a few times where barrier nursing and isolation was in effect in the RSPCA category at the top of the practice. Additionally, I would often had to report to the head nurse, as she had student nurse. As she had things explained to her, I often overheard and was learning myself. We would also talk about tasks, or she would practice or teach me something that she had just learnt in college. I do not feel that I have... I do not feel that I have achieved the aim of knowing how to act in different situations with owners. This is because I could not physically practice this with actual members of the public, as I was not a member of staff and they did not need me or want me on the reception desk. Although I have learnt a lot, it was mostly from the point of view of the veterinary surgeon, but that would come in handy if I ever had to do a nurse's consult. Sorry, I hope this doesn't die. Therefore, I feel confident that if told I could set up an area that is to be a barrier nurse and assist to set up a temporary area for isolation or quarantine, set up a kennel for a hospitalised dog or cat, and I could disinfect it properly after use. Carry out general tasks such as cleaning, restocking, washing and drying. The review of the personal skills that I have developed and the skills opportunities I have had during my placement. In my first year, this placement has helped my confidence through working with various different animals, some of which I've been very nervous or had never handled before. The first year also helped me to become more flexible. By this I mean that I had learned to adapt to different handling routines to fit different animals, as they would all need near enough the same treatment, but for example you could not use certain disinfectants in a reptile enclosure whereas you could in a small mammal enclosure. My second year placement has helped my confidence through working at this practice, because I would have to meet new people and I was often too shy to ask questions when I started. Whereas towards the end they were asking me to stop asking so many questions as I was distracting them. It has also helped with my independence and my own initiative, because I started to use my initiative so that they wouldn't always have to tell me what to do next, and I was not always having to ask what to do next. My first year has helped my creativity because it had limited resources when it came to being able to give the animals different forms of enrichment. For example, lots of boxes and cardboard tubes would be put into the enclosures of small mammals, exotic mammals, the rabbits and the guinea pigs. In my second year, I learnt how to use a washing machine and different cleaning techniques, which will both be useful in my personal life, especially when I go to university. I've also learnt proper cleaning techniques and other helpful bits of knowledge that would be helpful when I become a nurse. For example, I did not know that by rinsing the surgical tools with cold water before putting them into the disinfectant would remove more of the blood, stop it from sticking, and stop the tools from rusting than if I was to just put them into the disinfectant and then the autoclave. Skills opportunities. In the first year, we usually handled and cared for different animals each week. This provided me with having to adapt to not using the same animal each week and having to get used to handling different ones. In my second year, there was always plenty of washing to be done at the practice, so I had plenty of practice at using the washing machine. For example, the bloody drapes after a surgery needed to be rinsed and then put into hot water with a squirt of disinfectant, as well as the washing powder to make them cleaner, whereas blankets and towels were done at a normal 40 wash. Because we never handled the same animal each week, we had to be flexible in the way that we cared for animals, so we had to adapt the husbandry routines for the specific species of animal. Although I was not allowed to physically restrain actual dogs, I was taught how to restrain dogs for various different things, including taking bloods from the jugular and the like, as well as learning how to restrain cats in different techniques. Additionally, because we had to provide husbandry to different animals each week, it allowed me to think of different ideas, to be creative each week, to think of a new form of enrichment for that animal. Year 2. Once I had been shown how to use the bloods machine at every opportunity I could, I was offered to assist the nurse that was running them, or at least to watch her to help them try to get a better knowledge and remember the process. Although this was difficult because they had different processes depending on what set of bloods needed to be run. A blood test for a geriatric dog is different than a cat that has suspected kidney failure. This was the same for using the Second year. This was the same for using the autoclaves, and it helps to sort out the instruments after they had been soaked in disinfectant. At every opportunity I could, so after every lunch when the theatre had been cleaned, I assisted the nurse or took the initiative and attempted to do them myself. But a nurse had to check them to make sure that they were correct before they were put into bags and put in the autoclave. The strengths and weaknesses of my placement. The first strength. First year. The first strength of my first year placement is that I had such a wide variety of animals. The separate departments had various species within them. The departments were as follows. There was an aviary and a warren, an exotic rodents room, small mammals room, an aquatics room, an exotic reptiles room, and this allowed me to become familiar with a very large variety of species. Second year. The first strength of my second year placement is that it was a very friendly and welcoming place. They did not shout at me if I was to accidentally do something wrong or put in the wrong place. They would explain to me what I did wrong, why it was wrong, and how to do it better next time. Second strength. The second strength from my first year placement is that there were many people around, as well as instructors that were assigned to the group, that could help me out and explain anything I wasn't sure of. Second year. Another strength of my second year practice placement was that they were always willing to show me and teach me new things, even if I hadn't been asked to be taught them. They often taught me as I was watching someone do something, and they would invite me to help them, or so they were willing to involve me in things such as helping in the RSPCA category, and I got to assist in a couple of caesarean sections by cleaning off the puppies. The final strengths of my first year placement is that the instructors were all helpful and friendly, and were always willing to show me that you could do anything and to help me with anything I did not understand. Second year. The final strength of my second year placement was that there was clear signage throughout the building stating what should be done in the case of a fire, what the distribution of chemicals were, and what the mixing ratios were, and health and safety signs. The weaknesses. Weakness for my first year placement was that there were no proper washing facilities where we could wash our hands after handling the animals, especially after handling reptiles, and this could have caused serious health problems to us, such as salmonella. The weakness of my second year practice was that I was not allowed to do much other than cleaning. This is because of health and safety reasons, and I have not got any qualifications which would allow me to handle the animals. It is also for legal reasons that I was not allowed to do more. Recommendations. A recommendation for myself for my first year placement would be that to teach some more theory along with the practical, as it is learning on the job is good, but not everyone learns from that. A recommendation for my second year placement would be that to acquire a few large stuffed animals so that things could be practiced, such as handling and restraining techniques, as well as taking bloods or bandaging without actually having to disturb or stress any animals. And that is the end of my work experience review. I'm sorry I've had to talk so fast. My phone flashed about halfway through to say it was on 10%, so I don't know how much I've got left. Have a nice summer!